ICE has already stepped up enforcement posture at their facilities. Border Patrol's done the same thing. But the rhetoric has to stop. They're simply enforcing law that Congress enacted. So for Congress to attack them, to enforce the laws they wrote, it's ridiculous, and it's going to end in bloodshed.
Well, there's a really wild story that I think is going to go largely underreported by the mainstream media, so we thought it was worth covering, happening in Texas right now. This is really nuts. Listen to this from Fox News. An active shooter armed with tactical gear and a rifle opened fire upon Border Patrol agents as they arrived at a Border Patrol annex facility in McAllen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley on Monday, law enforcement sources said. Agents and local police returned fire and killed the gunman. No federal agents were hit, but one McAllen police officer was struck. Law enforcement sources say the officer is in stable condition. Okay, so this is pretty wild. So we have a bunch of people shooting at federal law enforcement officers, Border Patrol agents. What is going on here? Well, listen to this.
There were a total of 12 sets of body armor found during various searches of vehicles, defendants, and the area around the Prairieland Detention Center. And this included a flag saying, "Resist fascism, fight oligarchy." Law enforcement officers found spray paint. They found flyers such as "Fight ICE Terror with Class War," "Free all political prisoners."
Okay, so this is kind of, at this point, I would say standard left 101 stuff. Resist fascism, fight the oligarchy. That's what Bernie and AOC's rallies are all about. These people were firing at border agents. They had body armor, et cetera, et cetera. Here's an image of 12 of the mug shots of these people. Are these dangerous right-wing white supremacists, or they all look like kind of run-of-the-mill lefties, and they've got their literature and they've got their body armor and their weapons and all of those things. And we've known for a while. I mean, what have I been saying for a while as it comes to the Hamas protests all over the place? It's like, it's one thing they yell river to the sea, fine, but at some point they'll decide to put on suicide vests. Of course they will. They believe that political violence is okay. Where was all of the left when it came to, I don't know, the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO in Midtown New York City by Luigi Mangione? He's now a hero to much of the left. Yes, he actually is, believe it or not. Tax day may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just beginning. If you miss the April 15th deadline or still owe back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse. The good news? There's still time for Tax Network USA to help. Self-employed or a business owner with messy books, Tax Network USA quickly organizes your finances and gets you back on track. Even post-deadline, a free consultation can help you act now to avoid penalties, threatening letters, and levies. So call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dave. Let Tax Network USA help. So we know that that at some point, if you say, it's ironic, they tell us words are violence and they don't seem to think that violence is violence. But if you're going to gin up a set of people, especially with algorithms and the way that our education system has failed them, put the images up again, because those are all relatively young. Like all of these, they all look like they're probably in their mid-20s. Maybe the guy looks a little bit older there, upper middle, but they all look like relatively young people. So what would happen to a society over time if you had education system that was constantly telling them that the founding of the country was bad, and then they had politicians telling them that the earth is going to end soon because of climate change, and they're told that they're growing up in fascism, and they're told that capitalism is evil, and they're told that everything is systemically racist, and then they're confused about their like, we can combine all of these things, and then you understand that you get left with the toxic stew that then put it up one more time. Like, just look at any of these young girls in their 20s. Like, these young girls are suddenly like, okay, I'm going to put on body armor. I'm going to be part of an insurrection and call for anarchy and all of these things. Like, I don't have sympathy for any of them in that they tried to do some pretty horrific things and were shooting at federal officers. But you have to have, in the meta sense, I suppose you could have sympathy for young people whose brains are broken. And then you have a media that pushes all of this nonsense and all the institutional layer and everything else. Here's Tom Homan talking about how they have been warning about this rise in extremism within these barely fringe, but within these, let's say, progressive enclaves.
Your reaction tonight to what could have been a lot worse?
I've been warning about this for 2 months. I think the last time I did your show, Laura, we talked about it. I also talked about it on the Hannity show that I've been around a long time. I said if the rhetoric didn't decrease significantly, it's going to end up with loss of life. It's going to end up with a use of force either against a protester turning criminal or against ICE or Border Czar agent. Someone's going to be seriously injured if not killed. And of course the media attacked me. You know, fearmonger Homan. You know, he's threatening that someone's going to die. Look, I've been around a long time. You got members of Congress, Jayapal, comparing them to terrorists. AOC says we're out there violating people's civil and constitutional rights. You got Jeffries out there running his mouth about the Gestapo. You know, and it just the ramped up rhetoric is going to cause a situation where someone loses their life. We saw that today. I was hoping I'd be wrong, but I wasn't. And I'll tell you something else. It's not the end. Unless we stop the hateful rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol, comparing them to Nazis, there's going to be more situations like that. ICE has already stepped up enforcement posture at their facilities. Border Patrol's done the same thing. But the rhetoric has to stop. They're simply enforcing law that Congress enacted. So for Congress to attack them, to enforcing the laws they wrote, it's ridiculous. And it's going to end in bloodshed. And I think there will be more bloodshed.
Yeah, that's just absolutely right. It's just one of those things that is obviously true. What did you think for a decade? You kept calling all of these people Nazis and Donald Trump Hitler. Then he gets into power, starts doing what he said he was going to do, which was clean up the border and deport illegals. But then you have this, again, brain broken is the best way to describe it. You have a brain broken set of the populace that then is also kind of told being violent is okay. And then you have the Democrats that are constantly, we have to unmask ICE and they're the Nazis and all of those things. And then what do you get? You get a set of people that are going to be actual insurrectionists.